March 22nd will, of course, be supposedly Lester Martinez versus Joshawn James. Now, of course, in the co-main event, you have Vladimir Hernandez, a very good veteran, against Isaiah Lucero in a super welterweight fight. Now, of course, the reason why I say maybe is because the Martinez James fight has been canceled 2 times. Matter of fact, the first fight got canceled the day of the fight, and the next one was canceled the week of the fight. It gets people thinking that Lester Martinez is struggling to make weight, and that's why they canceled the fight, which may or may not be true. I don't have a lot of information on that, but it is something to keep in mind. But besides that, the co-main event is Isaiah Lucero, 19-2, 13 wins by way of knockout, and of course his 2 losses come back to back, being against Chester Proata Torales, split decision, and unanimous decision against, unfortunately I can't pronounce his name, but this guy. It's a very interesting one. We'll talk about that later, right? But he is coming off of 3 straight stoppage wins against not the best opposition, but they're just not the best, to be honest. 2 of them don't even have winning records, except the 7-9 one, which was coming off of a 2-fight win streak and a 3-fight draw drought. I don't know what that's about, right? But besides that, his other fights, some decent records, some high level stuff, kind of. Of course, he also beat in Rodolfo Orozco, who we all know fought Conor Benn on his return. Did not look the best, but then again, it was Conor Benn, so it's not that bad. But other than that, he's, of course, a pressure fighter. But one thing about his latest loss was the fact that everyone was saying that he did not throw to the body. He just forgot about it, refused to go to the body. But overall, he's a good, somewhat pressure fighter. A little bit, not the best at cutting off the ring, but he's good enough, right? He has pop in his power. He has good combinations. And overall, is a very rugged fighter. He was dropped in the second round. And it looked like a bad knockdown, but he survived it. Now, of course, the guy he got dropped by didn't have the most power, but whatever. A drop is a drop. But anyways, Vladimir Hernandez is 16-6, 7 wins by way of knockout, and 2 losses by way of knockout. Don't take that record literally, as he's a pretty great fighter. He has had a couple upsets. He's really only lost to some of the best in the division. Now, of course, who did he lose to? He lost to Humberto Velasco Torres, 13-1, unanimous decision. Majority decision to Ricardo Adrian Luna, majority decision. Of course, he beat Daniel Valdeva, 14-0, and beat him again in the rematch. Unanimous decision wins. He then lost to Israel Madrimov by stoppage. That's his first stoppage loss against Israel Madrimov. That's still a crazy thing to think about. And of course, he lost to the same guy that Lucero lost to back when he was 8-0. So I don't know which one's worse. Which one's a worse loss? Because the other one lost and got dropped and was also not a very close fight. But this one was against someone with only 8 fights. So, but then again, he was stopped against Israel Madrimov. Could have took some stuff out of Hernandez. Maybe not in the right headspace, but who skimmed past it. He's also beaten Julian Williams and Alfredo Angulo. Very good fighters. His latest stoppage loss was against Jesus Ramos Jr., 6-round stoppage loss, and he lost to Troy Isley in a very close fight, unanimous decision. Weirdly enough, Hernandez was like 3 pounds lighter than Isley because he's a super welterweight fighter and not an actual middleweight fighter, but yeah. But he is coming off of 2 good wins against Guido and Manuel Strom and Raul Garcia. Very good fight. Now, of course, it was a decently close fight. Both were landing great punches. Both of them were down. Garcia was down twice, but it looked like Garcia gassed himself out. But then again, when you see how Garcia knocked down Hernandez, who could blame him for trying to go for the stoppage? I mean, who gets dropped like that and then they think, nah, I got this. They're like, they're gonna survive this. You think, I'm gonna jump on him. I have time. I'll jump on him, right? And of course, he was hit on his equilibrium, I think, which of course which probably caused the momentum shift. But very good win nonetheless. He weathered the storm. He's a very tough fighter. And his output, that's what he's known for as well. He has decent power, but his output, he just wears opponents down and he just gets the win that way. He just keeps throwing punches. A good pressure fighter as well. But what's weird, what's the thing is, Lucero got popped, but I think Raul Garcia got more pop than Lucero. And Hernandez, first of all, took the punches well and had enough defense to not let Garcia land the big punches. He did land one, but he weathered the storm. Very nice. But I think this is going to be another one where Hernandez just outworks Lucero, especially because Lucero, I don't know if he's working the body now, but considering that he kind of forgot in his last loss, safe to assume he's not going to be doing too much to the body in this fight, right? But I got Vladimir Hernandez by decision, or it could also be stoppage as well, late stoppage. But yeah, I got Hernandez outworking Lucero, probably late stoppage or decision win. A very good fight, especially because both like to throw punches. It's going to be a very, very nice fight. But besides that, the main event of the evening, one that was scheduled 2 times at this point, but it looks like it may finally happen. Lester Martinez versus Joshon James. Now, of course, Joshon James is 9-0 with 2 draws, 5 wins by way of knockout. He is coming off of his unanimous decision win against Vog Alexander. Now, of course, he's considered inactive because, well, the fight's been rescheduled twice now. But he's a good fighter. 2 of his draws have been against some very good people. That being against Javier Martinez, who we all know he's a good fighter. Of course, his only loss is to Troy Isley in a very interesting matchup. And of course, this guy who 4-0, but he had all 4 wins by way of knockout. People had it weirdly, that fight, it really probably should have been a draw. Some people had it for James, someone had it for this guy. But he's also beaten the 12-0 Richard Brerouat Jr. Not to mention, one of his best wins is against the undefeated David Stevens, where he stopped him in the first round. Very good. Of course, but now he's taking on a very tough super middleweight in Lester Martinez, 18-0 with 15 wins by way of knockout. Of course, he himself is coming off of his unanimous decision win against Carlos Gongora, the former IBO super middleweight world champion. Oh, yeah, and by the way, Joshon James will be technically moving up to super middleweight, but he's been up there a couple times, so nothing to really be worried about, I guess. But besides that, he also beat Lucas de Abreu, Isaiah Steen, and of course, Gongora. Now, of course, if you were to go pound for pound, I guess you could say, with their wins, it would actually somewhat favor Joshon James. Weirdly enough, James has, I assume he beat the better super middleweight in David Stevens. Now, of course, don't get me wrong, Gongora is very good, but he's, I do have him slightly better than Vog Alexander. But Gongora, I mean, they're both old, by the way, Alexander Gongora, but they're both older, rugged, tough veterans. But Gongora was a former IBO champion, so it's always something to think about. But in terms of the best super middleweight win, it would be James with David Stevens. But Martinez has more super middleweight wins, if that makes any sense. But James has fought some very good fighters in Martinez and the undefeated 100% knockout artist. So he has experience with other people, right? Especially good amateur records and everything. But the thing is, what's funny is that Martinez and James kind of didn't look the best against their last opponents. But that's because I would assume both of them tried to knock out their opponents and realized that they couldn't. Because Martinez looked gassed in like the second half. I mean, he still was winning the fight against Gongora. I saw the same thing with James. But they were tired, and I assume they just tried to knock out their opponent and realized, oh no, this guy is not going anywhere. I should probably stop throwing so many punches. But yeah, the way it's going to go is very simple. I lied. It's not that simple. Weirdly enough, I think James is going to win because Martinez is a very good fighter, but he has openings. Weirdly enough, a little bit more openings than James. James has a good left hook. Very nice. Martinez is a good pressure fighter. Good body puncher as well, which is always great to do. There's always something great to have, especially against someone moving up in weight. But I think if Joshon James weathers the early storm against Martinez, I think he starts winning more rounds, which I think is something because James has some very good movement, upper body movement, pretty good guard for the most part, great straight hands, good jab. I think he has the better jab between the two of them, and he seems better with his distance control than Martinez. Martinez kind of sometimes seems to kind of get the distance wrong. Not a lot of times, but sometimes gets too close, sometimes it's too far away. But one thing I do have for Martinez is that he's the more active fighter. And, well, first of all, literally as in he fights more. And secondly, that he throws more punches. He throws more punches than Joshon James, I do believe. And he could outwork him into a decision win. But it's a very close fight. But I think Joshon James edges out a decision win. But it's a very close fight. Anyone's guess. Both good fighters. Martinez is a great body puncher, pressure fighter. Has the more power out of the two. Joshon James seems to be better at distance keeping that distance. Good jab, straight rights, some good upper body movement. You'll probably keep him from getting hit with anything too clean. But I do think James edges out a decision by landing the cleaner shots. I think that's how it's going to go. I think he wins by landing the cleaner shots. So give me Joshua James by decision. And give me Vladimir Hernandez by decision as well. But anyways, what do you guys think of these fights? I'd like to hear them down below. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.